Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that cuts right to the heart of what many men fear when they seek a new life abroad: the cost of commitment. This isn't about the usual bar girl heartbreak or a sudden business failure. This is a story about a man trying to outrun the financial ghost of a brutal divorce, only to stumble straight into a different kind of financial ruin. This is the story of a man who landed in the Philippines, seeking peace and simplicity after losing half his fortune in a messy divorce settlement. He came here with an emotional shield up, terrified of signing another legal document that could cost him everything. He found his ideal, the beautiful, modest shop owner, Liza, but his fear of commitment drove her away. Then, in a moment of emotional weakness, he fell for Liza's opposite, the hotel attendant, Jenna. The one who aligned with his goals, but little did he know that while he was running from the frying pan, he was diving into the fire. It's a tale of how he traded the threat of a legal marriage for the certainty of a transactional relationship, and how, in his pursuit of uncomplicated love, he failed to see the most expensive kind of partner of all. It's the devastating realization that sometimes the woman who demands cash is more financially dangerous than the one who demands just a ring. Before we dive into it, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please let's take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It'll go a long way. Now, let's get into it. I decided to share my experience with you while I was in the Philippines for a little more than a year. Well, I'm back home now. As they say, experience in the Philippines is like nowhere else in the world. I think it's very true because I haven't experienced that before in my entire life. But you might want to know why I just decided to move to the Philippines out of the blue. Well, I guess the only perfect answer was that I don't want my older days to just fade away and go unnoticed. Because it's been 5 years. 5 years since the divorce hearing that had felt more like an amputation. I walked out of that courtroom legally free but financially mutilated, losing close to half of everything I'd spent decades building. The trauma wasn't just the money, it was the chilling realization that the person I had pledged my life to could and would systematically dismantle me for the sake of an equitable settlement. It taught me a lesson I wouldn't soon forget. Commitment is exposure, and marriage is a financial weapon. I'd sold the last bits of unnecessary baggage, sentimental and literal, and bought a one-way ticket. I chose the Philippines specifically and Cebu City in particular. Manila was too intense, too overwhelming. Cebu, I was told, offered a vibrant city life with easy access to islands and beaches, a perfect blend of distraction and peace. I needed a place that would allow me to breathe, to live well on my diminished but still respectable nest egg, and, most importantly, a place where the rules of engagement with women felt different, simpler. My hotel was a decent mid-range place near the Fuente Osmeña Circle, just far enough from the downtown clamor but close enough to everything I needed. I booked a long-term apartment-style room on the fourth floor. It was there, in the hallways and the lobby, that I first met this girl, Jenna. Jenna was the hotel attendant assigned to my floor, a constant, sparkling presence in the mundane routines of my early days. She was a riot of color and motion: tight uniform, heavy eyeliner, a laugh that carried down the hall. Her energy was infectious, and she was always quick with a friendly, casual chat about the weather or where I should eat lechon. But Jenna was merely the backdrop to the woman who truly captivated me. The woman who held my gaze was Liza. Liza owned a small, tasteful boutique shop just around the corner from the hotel, selling hand-woven scarves, stylish linen shirts, and small pieces of local artwork. It was the kind of shop a tourist might pass by, but a man looking to build a new life would notice. Liza was Jenna's friend, and the contrast between them was immediate and stark. Jenna was fire. Liza was cool, clean water. Liza's clothes were always immaculate: long, flowing dresses or high-collared blouses, modest but tailored, emphasizing a quiet elegance. She wore minimal makeup, just enough to highlight her naturally beautiful features, and she spoke softly with a refined, educated air. She was the kind of woman who commanded respect by merely existing. She represented the stability and maturity I craved after years of emotional chaos. I started making daily pilgrimages to her shop. I bought a small carved wooden jeepney on the first day, the next a straw hat, the day after an expensive linen shirt. It was transparent, I know, but Liza played along with a gentle amusement in her eyes. I'd stand by her counter talking about anything and nothing, but all I was really doing was soaking in the peace she exuded. Jenna, meanwhile, was the one who inadvertently confirmed their friendship. One morning, as she tidied my room, she asked, "Sir, you go to Liza's shop every day." "She is my very good friend. Do you like her so much?" I didn't lie. "Yes, Jenna." "I do. She's a beautiful woman." Jenna just smiled, a wide, knowing grin. "She is very good, sir." A very good woman. It felt like a blessing, a tacit approval from the local network. After a week of this slow-motion courtship, I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I bought an expensive bar of local scented soap, the most ridiculously unnecessary item yet. And when she wrapped it, I leaned in. "Liza," I said, my voice a little rougher than I intended. "I know I've only been here a week, but I'm not here for a holiday. I'm here to stay, and I'd really like to take you out to dinner. Properly." Her initial surprise quickly gave way to that quiet, elegant smile. "I would like that very much," she replied. We went to a nice restaurant down by the waterfront that evening. The conversation flowed easily. I told her about my life, omitting the bitter details of the divorce, focusing only on the decision to start anew. She told me about her family, her dreams for the shop, and the difficulty of running a small business in Cebu. She was intelligent, grounded, and intensely focused on building a secure future. I felt a sense of calm I hadn't experienced in years. She didn't press for details about my finances or my past. She was interested in the man sitting across the table. We started dating exclusively after that. For a time, everything felt right. Liza was my anchor in this wild, new country. I thought, this is it. This is the simple, real life I came here to find. I was blissfully unaware that the shadows of my past, my deep-seated fear of true legal commitment, were already starting to stretch across our path. I had found the ideal woman, but I was about to discover I wasn't the ideal man for her. The next few months with Liza were, by any reasonable measure, was one of the most tranquil period of my adult life. She was the antithesis of the toxic drama I'd fled. Our relationship was built on quiet respect and shared domesticity, something I hadn't realized I missed. I was still living at the hotel apartment, still close to her shop, and our life together settled into a predictable, comforting rhythm. A typical evening involved me closing up her shop with her, walking to the Ayala Center Cebu for a quick dinner, or more often heading back to my apartment, where she would transform my simple kitchen. She was an exceptional cook. The way she'd bring over a container of kinalaw, Filipino ceviche, or a simmering pot of beef caldereta to my apartment was an act of quiet, profound care. These weren't just meals, they were offerings of her culture and her desire to nurture me. She never made me feel obligated, but every bite of her food tasted like genuine affection. Crucially, Liza rarely, if ever, asked for money. If she needed something for the shop, she'd handle it. When her younger cousin had a birthday, I'd offer a generous gift, but the request never came from her. It was a refreshing, almost foreign experience. After years of dealing with women whose love seemed to be priced, Liza's affection felt priceless. She was, as the local phrase goes, marangal, honorable, and respectable. Throughout this time, I still saw Jenna occasionally. She'd give me a sparkling, knowing look from across the lobby, sometimes stopping for a brief, flirty exchange. She was always perfectly put together, vibrant in her revealing clothes and bright makeup, carrying an air of excitement and urgency that Liza deliberately lacked. Jenna was the thrilling danger I was trying to avoid. Liza was the safe harbor. Around the seventh month, the atmosphere began to shift. It wasn't a sudden thunderstorm. It was a slow, subtle change in the pressure. Liza became quieter. Her questions, which had been light and curious, turned serious and probing. I should have seen it coming. Liza was in her early 30s, past the age of casual dating. She was a woman who was serious about her future, and in her culture, and honestly in mine too, 7 months of consistent, exclusive dating, especially with a financially established foreigner, meant you were moving toward a commitment. One rainy evening, while we were watching a movie, she paused it and turned to me. Her eyes were serious, utterly devoid of the usual playful spark. "We are happy, Mahal," she began, using the term for my love. "But where are we going?" "I need to know where we are going." I felt the familiar, icy knot tightening in my stomach. The question. The same question that had preceded the financial devastation of my past. "Liza, we're having a wonderful time," I stammered, scrambling for a rational deflection. "We're building a beautiful life here. What's the rush?" She sighed, a heavy, disappointed sound. "It is not a rush. It is my life. I am 32. I am not a girl for a long, happy vacation. My mother asks me, my friends ask me. They see us together every day. They see you are a good man, a steady man. They expect me to be building a family, a future." She wasn't asking for a diamond ring tomorrow. She was asking for a timeline. She needed to hear the word marriage or engagement, some indication that I planned to secure her future by legally intertwining it with mine. And that was the wall I couldn't climb. Every time she brought it up, the ghost of my ex-wife and the lawyer's fees would whisper in my ear, "Don't do it. You've been here before. You know how this ends." I was willing to live with her, support her, and love her in every way except the one that would put me at financial risk. I tried everything to skirt the issue. I suggested we take a trip to Bahal or buy her a new display case for the shop. She accepted the gifts and the trips with grace, but they were temporary bandages on a gaping wound. "The gifts are lovely," she told me once, her voice quiet but firm. "But they are not a promise. I need a promise from you, not just a nice time." The arguments became less frequent but more profound. They weren't about jealousy or money, they were about alignment. She was marching toward a goal I was desperately fleeing. I was terrified of being owned again. She was terrified of wasting her best childbearing years on a relationship that would vanish when my visa ran out. 7 months to the day, Liza gave me back the spare key to my hotel apartment. "I need to be free to find my husband," she said, her eyes glistening at that moment. "And you need to be free from me. I wish you peace, but I cannot be your secret, temporary wife." She broke up with me cleanly, respectfully, and with finality. I watched her walk away, and a terrible realization washed over me. I had sacrificed a perfect, genuine love to protect an asset I was too afraid to share. My divorce trauma had won, leaving me alone again in a foreign city with my money intact, but my heart painfully empty. At that moment, I started asking myself the same question Liza asked me: where was the relationship actually going? And honestly, I completely felt her concern because even if it's me too, I'll feel like I'm being used. I thought of different ways. Prenup was one of them, but despite the edge it'll give me, I was still afraid. Maybe I'll say it's PTSD. But anyway, that's it. I didn't get to do anything about it, but I was about to regret that decision till forever. The week after Liza left was brutal. The apartment felt cavernous and the silence was deafening. I stopped going to her shop, obviously, and my life lost its anchor. I was back to square one. Peace found, then peace lost, all due to my own self-sabotage. I tried to keep a low profile, avoiding the hotel lobby, but I couldn't avoid Jenna. She noticed immediately. On the Monday after the breakup, she showed up to clean my room with her usual energy, but she stopped halfway through the dusting. "Sir, are you and Liza fighting?" she asked. I sighed, running a hand over my face. No, Jenna. We broke up. She left me. Jenna frowned, shaking her head. Oh no, I'm so sorry. She is a good friend. But I think you are a good man too. She offered a moment of genuine sympathy before swiftly resuming her work. I was touched by the gesture, but I noticed that from that day on, her routine changed. She stopped by my room much more frequently. She wasn't subtle. She would casually drop in, start a conversation about what I'd done that day, or suggest a new Sugba Grill restaurant to cheer me up. It was always a flirty, quick exchange, but the subtext was clear. I'm available and I'm interested. I knew what the game was, or at least I thought I did. She was beautiful, vibrant, and she offered a ready made distraction. But she was my ex's friend, and she was the opposite of the respectable image I'd been pursuing. I kept my distance, polite but firm, trying to cling to the memory of Liza's stability. Then came the afternoon that changed everything. I was getting ready to head out, dressed in shorts and a t shirt, when there was a light knock. I opened the door, expecting the maintenance guy, but it was Jenna. She wasn't in her hotel uniform. She was wearing a simple, inexpensive, but impossibly revealing dress. It was a flimsy piece of fabric, barely covering anything, and it was a statement so bold it nearly took my breath away. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled, and her eyes held a spark that was both tempting and utterly direct. She didn't speak. She just walked past me, closing the door softly. I finished cleaning on the fifth floor, she murmured, a husky note in her voice that was pure invitation. I just wanted to make sure your towels were okay, sir. The excuse was ludicrous, and we both knew it. The next few minutes were a blur of primal need, mixed with months of pent-up frustration. She was utterly uninhibited, direct, and overwhelmingly passionate. Everything Liza, in her pursuit of propriety, hadn't allowed herself to be. It was intoxicating. It wasn't love, it was pure, simple release. I will not be going into details of what happened exactly as it's not entirely appropriate for YouTube, but then it happened. The instant we were finished, before I could even catch my breath or utter a single word, she sprung up and ran out of the room. Not a gradual exit, but a genuine bolt. She grabbed her clothes, threw the door open, and was gone. I lay there for a full minute, confused, slightly winded, and totally bewildered. Why? Had I offended her? Had I been too quick? Too rough? Did she regret it instantly? I was reeling, trying to make sense of the sudden flight. She didn't leave any note, no casual "see you later." Just gone. Over the next few days, her avoidance was palpable. If she saw me coming down the hall, she would duck into a utility closet. If I was at the front desk, she wouldn't make eye contact. Her previous flirty confidence had been replaced by genuine shyness, or so it seemed. But the confusion slowly gave way to a different realization. The physical encounter had been exactly what I needed. It was passionate, uncomplicated, and free from the emotional baggage of marriage talks. Why not, I thought. I liked her. She was beautiful, fun, and clearly into me. Liza was gone, and I didn't owe her any allegiance. Jenna was right here, right now. Maybe if I made it official, she wouldn't be so shy anymore. Maybe she just wanted the security of a title, a boyfriend, to justify the encounter. So, a few days later, I cornered her in the lobby after her shift. Jenna, I said, putting a gentle hand on her arm. About the other day. I liked it. A lot. I want to take you out properly. I want us to be together. Her reaction was a brilliant performance. She looked down, her face flushed beneath the makeup. She pulled her arm away slightly, acting completely reluctant. I don't know, sir. I don't want to feel cheap. I am not that kind of girl. I am not like the girls on P. Burgos. Then came the loaded question, delivered with the sincerity of a seasoned actress. Do you truly love me? Or are you just after my body? I knew the answer she was looking for, and I gave it to her. I laid on the charm, telling her how I admired her energy, her beauty, and how I wanted her in my life. The performance worked. After some feigned hesitation, she looked up, a triumphant glint in her eyes that she quickly masked. "Okay," she said. "I will be your girl. But you must respect me." I didn't give a second thought to the ethical problem of dating my ex's friend. I just had a beautiful, vivacious woman on my arm and a commitment-free future ahead. I truly believed I had found the uncomplicated, high-octane relationship I wanted. I just didn't realize that in shedding Liza's emotional demands, I had walked straight into a far more destructive financial one. The honeymoon phase with Jenna lasted roughly 2 weeks. It was fun, full of energy, and she was every bit as passionate as I'd hoped. But the reality of Jenna was far removed from the respectable woman I had dated, and, frankly, far more expensive. Jenna's life was a perpetual, high-stakes emergency, and I was immediately drafted as the sole financial first responder. The contrast with Liza was staggering. Liza hadn't asked for a peso, Jenna was a sieve. The requests began immediately, thinly veiled as necessities. The first major request was a classic, the sick parent. "My mama, sir," she told me one evening, "she needs operation for her gallbladder. It is very expensive and my sisters have no money. I need 500 US dollars to help pay the hospital deposit, or she cannot be admitted." I didn't know if she had converted the amount to dollar for me instantly understand, but I didn't give it much of a thought, because at that time I felt the familiar pang of obligation. This wasn't a frivolous request for a dress. This was life and death. I transferred the money immediately, feeling like a generous, good man. That feeling lasted until a week later when her mother, miraculously recovered, needed money for specialized post-op vitamins. Vitamins that cost more than a month's salary at the hotel. Not long after that, her siblings' tuition came in. "My brother is a good student, sir. He is taking accounting, but if he cannot pay his tuition by Friday, he must stop school. It is his only chance. 300 US dollars, please." Again, the appeal to duty and opportunity. I paid. It was never a loan, always a gift. I quickly realized this wasn't charity. It was my monthly fee for being Jenna's boyfriend. The small personal requests were relentless. "I need a new phone, sir, so I can talk to you and send you my selfies, but mine is old and broken." "I need a new dress for a colleague's wedding. My coworkers will laugh at me if I wear the old one." She needed new shoes, a better haircut, money to send to a relative in the province who was facing a typhoon. The list was a bottomless pit of demands, each presented with a theatrical urgency that made me feel inhuman if I hesitated. She was an expert manipulator, far more sophisticated than any bar girl who simply asks for a lady drink. Jenna tied her transactions to my respectability and her love. She would launch into a passionate, loving declaration. "I love you, sir. You are so kind. You are my everything," followed immediately by the financial request. If I hesitated, she would withdraw physically and emotionally, making me feel guilty for questioning her need. "You don't trust me, sir," she would pout, tears welling up. "You think I am a bad girl? I am just asking for help from my family. Is that so wrong?" This was the trap. Liza wanted a future. Jenna wanted a perpetual present, paid for in cash. The freedom I thought I had gained by avoiding marriage was a lie. I wasn't just losing money, I was being actively, methodically drained. Every request chipped away at the financial security I had come to the Philippines to protect. My hard-earned retirement savings were disappearing into the bottomless pit of her family's needs and her personal vanity. I tried talking to her, reasoning with her. "Jenna, I love you, but you need to be realistic. I can't support your whole family. I'm not a millionaire." She would just stare blankly. "But you are rich, sir. You are a foreigner. You have so much more than us. You are my only hope." It was a constant loop of entitlement mixed with desperation, a toxic cocktail that left me resentful and exhausted. I started avoiding my own apartment, knowing a new creative financial crisis would be waiting for me upon my return. I felt trapped, more financially shackled than I ever did during my marriage. At least with the divorce, there was a legal process. With Jenna, the process was endless, driven by her invented crises and my guilt. I realized I was paying not just for her company, but for her performance of love. The passionate nights, the attention, the beauty, all of it was a commission I paid for funding her family. I was no longer a boyfriend. I was a fully automated, human-sized ATM whose PIN was her tears and her whispered pleas of, "I love you." The initial seduction, the reluctance, the question about true love, it was all a brilliantly calculated script to establish me as a reliable, guilt-ridden source of income. The shame was overwhelming. I had lost the perfect woman, Liza, because I was afraid of a financial settlement, only to be systematically fleeced by her friend who demanded far more cash with none of the honor. My judgment had been fatally compromised by my need for immediate physical gratification and my post-divorce cynicism. By the fourth month with Jenna, I was operating on fumes. I looked at my bank balance and saw the horrifying proof of the drain. I was not only dipping into my capital, I was speeding toward insolvency. The thought of staying and watching her take my life from me, dollar by dollar, became terrifying, with only half of what I brought to the Philippines left in my account. It was then my brain clicked. The time for letting my emotion make decisions for me was over. It was time to run. The decision to leave was sudden, ruthless, and entirely self-preservation. I realized with chilling clarity that Jenna would never stop, and her dependency would only grow heavier, suffocating me until I had nothing left. She wouldn't leave me. She would simply take everything, leaving a hollowed-out shell of a man staring into an empty bank account. I started planning my escape in secret. I booked a flight back to my home country, as they say. There's no place like home. I paid off my apartment lease in cash, giving the hotel owner a discreet excuse about a family emergency back home. Crucially, I did not tell Jenna a single thing. I knew any hint of my departure would unleash a financial storm of biblical proportions. Once safely back home, staring at the gray skies I thought I'd escaped forever, the regret settled in. I was entirely remorseful about Jenna. She was a leech, a predator who had skillfully used my emotional vulnerability and my foreigner's wealth as bait. The cost of those 7 months with her was a sobering figure that made the final divorce settlement look almost courteous. I regretted giving her a single peso, regretted accepting her seduction, and regretted being so blind to her calculation. But for Liza, I still felt a complicated sort of regret. I wasn't entirely sorry about losing her, because I knew that if I had stayed, the pressure for marriage would have broken me eventually. Our goals were fundamentally unaligned. She wanted security and a future I was too afraid to legally bind myself to, and my past trauma wouldn't allow me to give her that. She asked for commitment. Jenna simply asked for cash. In my fear, I chose the latter, believing it to be the cheaper, safer option. I was wrong. The cash was the currency of my freedom, and Jenna had been draining it dry. My final verdict, born of this painful experience, is a cynical piece of advice forged in bitterness. To any man who arrives in the Philippines carrying the emotional and financial scars of a brutal Western divorce, be warned. The transactional nature of life in the Philippines does not stop at the barroom doors. Liza, the shop owner, was genuine, but she was seeking a serious, lasting future. And you must be ready for the legal and financial commitment that entails. If you're not ready for that, you risk losing her to a man who is. But the hotel attendant, the waitress, the staff member who approaches you outside the recognized nightlife areas, the Jennas of the world, they are infinitely more dangerous than the typical bar girl. Stay away from hotel attendants. They operate with the same goal as the bar girls, but their setting provides them with a deceptive veneer of respectability. They use their proximity, their knowledge of your life, and the sincere emotional connection they feign to run a far more aggressive, long-term financial scam. They will bleed you dry with family emergencies and tuition fees until you are forced to run. I came to the Philippines seeking peace and an unburdened life. I left with a deeper, more profound fear of female manipulation and a chilling lesson. In my own misguided attempt to avoid losing half my wealth in a single court ruling, I nearly lost all of it, slice by slice, to a woman who smiled and whispered she loved me. I got my money out, barely. But the peace? That's going to take a couple years to find.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more amazing content.